My name is Carlton Cartwright. Today is July the 19th. It's Wednesday, 2023. I'm here at the offices of Amy Mercado. Amy, what is your title?
I'm the Orange County, Florida property appraiser.
Okay, and we are in the city of Orlando, Florida. Amy, as we already have discussed, okay, so there's several issues that I'd like to question you about, get your opinion. The first one is women's rights, abortion. What is your opinion? What is your take on today's in current affairs?
Sure.
What is your opinion as far as how the government, or I should say politicians, how they're handling that at the moment?
So I am a very proud pro-choice woman, but I'm also a mom of 6. 3 are bonus, 3 I birthed, 5 were raised together. So women's rights and women's choice is very important to me and dear to me. Women's reproductive rights are healthcare. I was a very young mom. I chose to be a mom, and I think every human has the right and the ability to choose what they need and what's right in the moment in time, and government needs to stay out of it and mind the business.
Got it. Okay, next, racial profiling and immigration. You can wrap those two together.
Okay. In what fashion?
Okay, well, let's just talk about immigration. What's going on at the southern border? Okay, how do you feel that this the government administration? How is the present administration handling that versus the people and the politicians that are against the Latin community from South America and the Caribbean? These people trying to escape the turmoil that they're experiencing in their countries, and things like putting up a wall or severely mistreating that population
Sure.
that is trying to get across the border into the United States.
Okay, so it's such a nuanced and obviously larger factor issue with many reasons for the need for immigration or migration into the United States. Speaking to immigration coming from Latin America, coming from the southern border, is actually historically, for whatever reason, there's probably some racial undertones in there or some even biases that our brothers and sisters from the south are treated very different from our brothers and sisters coming through the north border.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, the majority of the folks that are coming into our country actually come into our country legally with documentation and may extend or overextend their time here and then are undocumented. This narrative and this fear factor that's being used as, they're coming here to commit crimes and take our jobs and do that is absolutely not the case. And if there is any level of that, it's such a minority of folks. There's ways to handle that. There are ways to take care of it from a law enforcement perspective. But what has happened in this fever pitch narrative that you see and you hear from, really, it's very partisan. It's coming from a fear factor control mechanism. It's about losing control, and the Latino community are the minority majority. Our voices need to be heard, our voices will be heard, and this is what they fear the most.
Mm-hmm. I don't know really, it's not really a segue. What is your perspective on human trafficking? And I mean male and female.
Sure.
And I mean all ethnicities, okay? And we've got the Middle East, we have Africa, Russia, India, the United States. Okay, and I mean, just personally, just as far as I'm concerned, it's been around since the beginning of time. Okay, it's a power play, and it's a way to make a lot of money. Okay, and I'm just going to add in, just personally, I don't care if somebody tells me I'm right or wrong. As far as I'm concerned, there's more money in human trafficking than drugs. Okay, because, and I'll just say because of the individual, as long as the individual is alive, they're a moneymaker. Okay, so what are your feelings?
You know, it's definitely a prolific problem, but it's a one that is age old. The United States probably leads that, as much as they try to say they don't or it's different, and you know the onus or the current visuals are outside of the U.S. We have our own problems. Florida is one of the highest, in ranking of trafficking.
Well, we're a port state.
Well, and it doesn't need to be just because we're a port state, but absolutely.
Right.
As a former legislator, one of the things that we actually discussed and we tried to pass was not only just say something, see something, say something mentality from a legislative perspective and regulatory perspective, but trying to engage our institutions and our business owners and our tourism industry to be part of the conversation so that they're actually reporting and they're actually, in some aspects held accountable because their spaces and their businesses are being used. And in some instances, they would turn a blind eye, right? Not all, but having that discussion and having that conversation from a regulatory standpoint is very important and necessary because it happens here every day. And in order for us to be able to stop it or limit it, because I don't ever think that they're going to be able to stop all of it, it's important to be open about it and share those statistics and information.
Right. Okay, just a couple more questions.
How to act.
I'm sorry, say that again? Last part.
There's a control of what you and your children want to think or how to act. It is and has always been a power play. What I believe is happening right now is that it's all in the open. It used to be behind the scenes. It used to be nuanced. It used to be layered. What's occurred in the last several years, and I would say probably from 2016 forward, is the filter has been removed. The national language and the different administrations have removed that filter, and no one has decided that that's not necessary anymore. They want to say what they say and think what they think, and you can't have your own thoughts. Only they can think.
Okay, and we're talking about education, correct?
That's right.
Okay, last question. Gun violence, gun control. The issue that is undeniable that has to do with background screens, licenses, right? Versus being able to carry without any screening. What is your take on that?
I think it's a dangerous position to be in. Our state has actually pushed the envelope on a national level, on a local level, to make it as close to open carry as they can. That's, I believe, ultimately the goal. You can two truths can be in the same space. You can still be a responsible gun owner and still go through training. As you know, as a vet, and my dad happens to be a vet and a former law enforcement, I grew up with guns in our house. My parents were law enforcement. But there was always a level of respect for the actual weapon, a purpose for the weapon. They were secured, they were taken care of, and you were shown and taught how to make sure that you weren't in harm's way. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with asking someone to make sure that they are qualified to carry that weapon, whatever it is. and use it. I mean, I was not in the military, but I actually spent some time in college ROTC, and one of the things that we did as young future soldiers or military personnel was train, train, train. Secure your weapons, secure your magazines, secure the things that you had, and they were locked up. They were collected and put away. You didn't just take them with you, even though you were trained to use them. So I don't understand this narrative and this, again, fear-mongering and fear factor with folks doing this level of narrative and just trying to tell you that the reason why the other opinion is trying to take your weapons from you is because they don't want you to have it. No, we want you to have it responsibly. And at the end of the day, the damage that these assault weapons do to the human body is insane. And so there is absolutely no reason. You can still protect yourself without needing an automatic weapon.
Okay, and I really mean this time. Last question. Mental health. And just give you a PTSD is something that I believe the acronym was created specifically for veterans. However, as we have seen today, and I mean the internet has introduced us to a whole nother world, information-wise.
Sure.
So that has escalated. But my contention is that PTSD starts for individuals that live in, I'll say, low-income communities. We're having babies shot in their homes from drive-bys on the street. So mental health, there's not enough treatment. Way before an individual thinks about even going into the military. It's from the crib, from the cradle. So, so my question to you is very simple. Do you believe that there is enough mental health services throughout the country?
No, and part of that is the stigma behind mental health. Mental health is a component of your health care. So you can't take care of your body and not take care of your psychology, right? And even your soul, so to speak. Again, the stigma is really, for me, the biggest problem. We don't allow for open, honest, safe conversations and have age-appropriate conversations with children and adolescents, including adults, to give them the not only the respect but the space to have those feelings and to work through those feelings, let's talk through those feelings, what has occurred throughout the different generations, different traditions, different cultures, is this holding back or, negating the idea or the reality that they're actually dealing with all kinds of issues or questions that can be handled if we actually not only funded it, but destigmatize it by allowing the time and the space and the work and having institutions, for example, that will promote that. Wellness days, meditation corner, time away, like you're having a stressful day, walk away, let's, take 5 minutes, turn it off, come back, reset. In most instances, that's what people need. But you mentioned, our children being hurt and so forth. At the end of the day, we live in a society that I believe is there's so much trauma and drama within our society. Mm-hmm. And there's so many layers and factors to that. I grew up in the South Bronx. I was born in the mid-70s, grew up in the 80s, just when crack cocaine hit the streets, HIV mm-hmm. at the same time. I have lost friends years before I was even an adult, and the drama and the trauma that actually has,
Inflicts.
and no necessarily, difference. People, okay, well, they deserved it, or their family didn't do this, or their so-and-so didn't do that. That's not the case. But there's this judgment factor and cycle that our society has allowed and has actually fueled, in my opinion, has made things even more complicated. I have absolutely no problem saying everyone, including myself, you need an outlet. You need the opportunity to be able to speak your truth, your faith, your background, your fears in an environment that we can have this dialogue and this discussion and be fine, or need something a little more and be fine, and it not be a problem with you being a productive member of your family, a productive member of society.
Really, last question. Believe it or not, I have a one-line question. All I need is a one-line answer. And I'll preface that with not going to extremes left or right.
Sure.
In the middle. LGBTQ, do they have a right to life?
Absolutely.
Done deal.